So summer is the perfect time to pull out our favorite reading as well as to explore the books that we have not read yet. And often this is done on vacation. I talked about this last week. We'll pick out our summer reading books that we want to read, and we'll escape into daring adventures or maybe some steamy romances or juicy mysteries with lots of plot twists and adventures and turns. But this month we're taking highlights from 4 different books that are on my summer reading list. And while these books they won't be adventure, romance, or mystery novels, they will be adventurous. They will help us connect with deep love, and we just may experience a twist or a turn along the way. So last week our book was Thrive, a New York Times #1 bestseller written by media mogul Arianna Huffington, and we looked at four qualities of a redefined successful life. So does anybody remember what those 4 qualities were from last week? Okay, well-being. Well-being was 1. In all areas of your life, but particularly your spiritual well-being. Wisdom, the deepest wisdom, knowing that connection and love are what we are all looking for, and realizing that all of life is unfolding for our highest good. 3rd one was wonder. Wonder at all of life, including who we are. We're amazingly wonderful beings. The 4th one was giving, which sets within us a sense of overflow and abundance. Because, when you're giving, you have to have something you're giving from. And knowing that, the supply is unlimited, it's just such an incredible feeling. And an interesting side note to all of this is Huffington stepped down as editor-in-chief of the Huffington Post to start a new company, which is called Thrive Global, which was launched in November 2016 to provide content and training seminars on wellness, which I think is interesting. And on our way back yesterday, when we were driving from St. Helena, we like to listen to podcasts, and we found her on Oprah's Soul Series. They're just short little podcast discussions with people. So, Arianna, well, this is great. Let's listen to. So we got to hear her, and it really pulled a lot of what she says in her book. It was just a nice compliment to what we were doing. So, if you're interested in Thrive Global, you can follow them on Facebook, or you can go to thriveglobal.com to see what they're all about. So this week's summer read is Prosperity. Let's see if I can pull this out from under here without tipping everything over. Ta-da! Prosperity. All right, and this is this was written by Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore, and it was written in 1936. So the most amazing thing is how relevant the writings from that time still are. It's absolutely amazing. So this book truly is one of my favorite books. For living inside of a prosperity consciousness. And it is what we are actually using in our class. You already have a copy of this, don't you? So it is one that we are using in our prosperity class, in our Living in the Flow class. So I have to tell you that just trying to pull out a few ideas from it for today proved almost impossible because it is chock full. You agree? Yes. Okay. I would love to do an entire month of just talks on this book. So what do you think? Maybe in the future? Okay. So I just think it's such a rich and amazing book, just full of spiritual ideas. The first one is that I think is important is this one. This is on page 161. And Charles Fillmore writes, "We are not studying prosperity to become rich, but to bring out those characteristics that are fundamental to prosperity. We must learn to develop the faculty that will bring prosperity and the character that is not spoiled by prosperity." Ooh, that's good. And before we go any further in our prosperity treasure hunt, I want to make sure you all know the 2 things that money is good for. Okay, this is really important, so you're going to want to get this. Number 1, money gives you the freedom to share your love, your gifts, your talents, and your time with the world in ways that bring you joy and fulfillment. And number 2, it gives you the ability to give back financially and make a positive difference in the lives of others. So I want to say those again. The two things that money is good for are, number one, it gives you the freedom to share your love, your gifts, your talents, and your time with the world in ways that bring you joy and fulfillment, whatever that looks like for you. And number two, it gives you the ability to give back financially and make a positive difference in the lives of others. Said a different way, money directly supports two of the hallmarks of thriving, from Arianna Huffington: your well-being and giving. That's what it's good for. So let's go on a treasure hunt now through Prosperity by Charles Fillmore to call out some of the most brilliant gems found in this New Thought classic. Today's going to be a little bit interactive, so if you want to play, I hope you do. I did remember I did promise a little adventure in this series here, and this is it. So you have your Prosperity treasure maps in your hands, I see. All right. So take a look at it, and where it says you are here, that's at the bottom. Okay, that's where you're going to start, and you're going to take a journey upward to find some amazing prosperity gems and quotes that I share from this book. You'll see that some of the letters have already been filled in to give you a little bit of a jump start, but you've got to be paying attention to the quotes that I'm sharing to fill in the rest of the letters. So for those of you who reach the top, which is going to be everybody, you'll get all 8 phrases. You're welcome to come forward after the service and partake in the treasure chest up here. I have some essential oils that you can choose from if you'd like, or if you're not into the candy, or you can do the candy and the oils if you like. And if there's not something you see here, you're always welcome to trade with what's out there. So that's the reward. So the real reward, though, however, is that you will have some pretty cool prosperity reminders, and they will be yours to keep. So does this sound good? Everybody on board? Okay, then let the treasure hunt begin. In Prosperity, on page 13, Fillmore writes, the spiritual substance from which comes all visible wealth is never depleted. Let me say that again. The spiritual substance is never depleted. It is right with you all the time and responds to your faith in it and your demands on it. It's not affected by our ignorant. It is not affected by our ignorant talk of hard times, though we are affected because our thoughts and words govern our demonstration. Pour your living words of faith into the omnipresent substance, and you will be prospered through all the banks, though all the banks in the world close their doors. See, it doesn't matter what the appearance of anything is out there, because we have the power within us. The key to what he just said, and a key to our abundant consciousness, is this idea: spiritual substance is never depleted. And why is that? Why is our spiritual substance never depleted? Because it is infinite. There are no boundaries to spirit, to God. And no matter how much is used or taken from that which is infinite, there is still an infinite amount left over. That's a huge concept to get our minds around, but the more we do that, the more we focus on the infinite and how it can never be depleted, the more we can attract good into our lives. So it is a big concept. It is really a big concept to wrap our minds around. So what is more tangible? What's more tangible that we could, an example that we could easily grasp? How about these ideas? How about music? Where does music come from? Can we ever write the last piece of music? Or composers compose the last? It's infinite, isn't it? There's always going to be more music. How about air? So far, so good, right? Infinite amount of air. In fact, Fillmore writes in Prosperity, there is no scarcity of the air you breathe. There is plenty of air to breathe. In fact, all you will ever need. But if you close your lungs and refuse to breathe, you will not get. You're not going to get it, right? And you may suffocate for the lack of air. When you recognize the presence of abundance of air and open your lungs to breathe it deeply, you get a larger inspiration. And that is exactly what you should do with your mind in regard to substance. There's an all-sufficiency of all things, just as there's an all-sufficiency of air. Remember, there is always plenty of air to breathe. The only lack is our own lack of appropriation. So I love the section of the quote that I shared before. It, meaning infinite substance, is not affected by our ignorant talk of hard times. We can't affect it, but though we are affected because our thoughts and words govern our demonstration. Pour your living words of faith into the omnipresent substance, and you will be prospered, though all the banks in the world close their doors. The question is, what words are you pouring into the omnipresent substance? Are we pouring words of what we want or what we don't want? Consciously make a decision to say only what you do want. In this thing called you, Holmes says, let no words come forth from your lips that you don't want to have come back into your life. It's a tall order sometimes, isn't it? Think of your words like a boomerang. Can you identify some words you say that you really don't want to have come back to you? Let's help each other out here. Someone give me a phrase that you've heard that you yourself have said or that you've heard someone say.
I can't. I can't do this. I can't do that. I don't want to do that.
Low on funds.
Well, let's take one at a time. I can't. There isn't anything that I can't do with the support of spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can do anything. Let's change it to a positive. I can do anything with the support and guidance and direction of spirit.
Or I can't afford this.
I can afford anything, for I live in an abundant world.
Mm-hmm.
And what's yours?
Yeah, I think I've heard people do it to their children. I'm a drug and alcohol counselor, so I've heard frustrated parents when they have a child struggling with substance abuse, and I heard one man say he's going to end up in an urn on the shelf, and so when I got him in the car and I took the kid for a ride, I said, that's not true. That's not who you are. That's not what's going to happen out of this. You're not going to pay as many consequences as you do. You're going to come through this. And so like when I do that with my clients, that's the message that I send them, because people get frustrated when they don't get it, and then they kind of prophesy over them as like what the end's going to be.
Sure, because that's a self-protection thing. It's like, well, I knew this was going to happen, and then you're still devastated, but maybe not so much, or you think you won't be. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. So when you hear those, I immediately turn them around in my head. But it's important to do that.
Concerns about health.
Right.
Or have them.
Right. Right. It's your mind goes off.
Healthy and complete.
I'm whole, health, and complete. I'm a divine expression of the One. How can I not be whole, perfect, and complete?
Worried. I know I'm pushing up, saying that.
Yeah.
Like in my head, I say, "Oh, I'm so worried about this person," and then I'm like,
It's like
yeah,
I know that
going there.
I know that the loving arms of spirit surround this person that I love so dearly and guide them to their highest and best good always. Always. So it's so important to have these tools and to be able to bring them up and to recognize. That's the first step, is just recognizing when we have this chatter going on in our hands, in our minds. So here's what will happen when you consciously, deliberately, and continually think and say what you really want. You become a magnet to it, and you will pull yourself to it, and it to you, because that is how the law of attraction works. That's how it works. But sometimes we get discouraged when things don't happen as fast as we would like, don't we? We're a little impatient. I know I am. Boy, I've done that. And I love these words of encouragement from Fillmore. He says, if your prosperity does not become manifest as soon as you pray and affirm God as your substance, your supply and support, refuse to give up. Never surrender. Never give up, right? Refuse to give up. That is what I've learned. There are things that are working in the unseen. The challenge is you can't see what's happening in the unseen. That is where our faith has to come in. That we have set the law in motion. It's happening, and we just have to have faith and know that it's happening. And that can sometimes be the challenge. But did you know that when you plant bamboo seeds, that you won't see a thing above ground for 3 years? For 3 years. You probably think that nothing is happening and that your effort's gone to waste, right? You might even give up and quit watering it. But is nothing happening? Absolutely not. Nothing is definitely not happening, right? A lot is happening. It's establishing a strong, deep root structure so that when the growth period that happens, it's really going to be phenomenal. Because once that shoot peaks through the ground, it can grow up to 4 feet in a 24-hour period. And in 3 months, it can shoot up as high as 70 feet in the air. And then you're kicking yourself for planting those damn seeds. Believe me, I've tried. I've taken out bamboo in the past, and I did not plant it, and I was not happy with the person who did. But that's proof that something is happening even when you cannot see it. And it's like planting a garden too. You don't go out and plant carrots and then pull them up just to see if they're growing. No, you trust that it's happening. What the seed you have planted is happening. And at the same time, the same is happening for us when it appears that nothing is happening. So roots are being laid, things are being lined up in the invisible. And so I quote Fillmore again, refuse to give up. Refuse to give up. And keep taking whatever steps are yours to take. That's where our saying, treat, which is affirmative prayer, and move your feet. Pray and act upon it. Do what is yours to do. Fillmore tells us no one ever fully sees the steps that he must take in reaching a certain end. But we must take the next step, whatever it is, knowing that the next one will be revealed in the right and perfect time. Oh my goodness, so many times we take a couple of steps and we get so far into something and then we don't see any more progress and oh, do we give up or do we keep at it? Do we keep at it? Can we just trust that we'll know when it's time to take the next step? Scripture tells us, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. That doesn't say a floodlight illuminating the entire path. Rather, it implies a light for the next step. As you are taking your steps, here's an amazing affirmation to use from Prosperity. I have faith in the substance of God working in and through me to increase and bring abundance into my world. Or you could shorten it to, I have faith in the substance of God. I have faith in the substance of God. Let's say that together. I have faith in the substance of God. So let's pause for a moment and touch in. How are we doing with our treasure map?
I've got 3.
I have 3 life.
I have 4.
You could have found 5 gems by now, leaving 3 more discovered. Well, let's just go through them a little bit. What are they? Starting with the first. What's the first one?
Spiritual substance is never depleted.
Perfect. Number 2.
There is plenty of air to breathe.
That's it. There is plenty of air to breathe. Great. What's number 3?
Refuse to give up.
All right. What's number 4?
I don't have any.
No one ever fully sees the steps. No one ever fully sees the
No
steps.
one ever, what is it?
No one ever fully sees the steps. What's number 5?
I have faith.
I have faith in the substance of God.
I have faith in the substance of God. Okay, we're going to get to the final gems found in the book, but I have to say, from even more than today, there's so many more. These are the ones, that are around the theme, which is the entire chapter, but I'm going to share the crux of it from page 138 to 141. The great promise of prosperity is that if we seek God and his righteousness first, then all shall be added unto us. One of the most practical and sensible ways of seeking God's kingdom first is to put God first in every area of our life, including our finances. When we put God first in our finances, not only in thought, but in every act, by releasing our first fruits, which we call tithing, to our Lord, our faith in the omnipresent supply becomes 100-fold stronger, and we prosper accordingly. Obeying this law gives us an inner knowing that we are building our finances on a sure foundation that will not fail us. So that's his teaching in Prosperity, to put God first in finances. And this is through that high and holy act of tithing, which is 10%, as we teach, to the source of all of our spiritual good. All of the supporting organizations, individuals, whoever has fed us spiritually is where, and we're a tithing center here too. We take anything that's given to us, we tithe 10% to whatever provides us. Sometimes it's our musicians who give us the beautiful music that we listen to. Sometimes it's a speaker or the home office that supports me in providing me with so much support in a variety of, or Israel Hurtado, who does the drumming. Oh my gosh, and the crystal bowls, beautiful, beautiful. Anyone who's spiritually enriched our lives and whose work in the world we want to see flourish and grow, because we do believe that in a world that can work for everyone, and so we want to support people who have that drive and that belief to do that as well. So this is how we put God first in finances. Fillmore suggests that when we, as he says, totally obey this law, we are building our finances on a sure foundation that will not fail us. And of course, Jesus taught this as well. When Jesus said, "Give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over," He was not merely making a promise, but stating a law that never fails to function. So inexhaustible is the bounty of the giver of all good that to him who has eyes to see it and faith to receive it, God is an unfailing source of supply. So that's a promise. God is an unfailing source of supply. And I can sink my teeth into that. Remember, in this teaching, we never expect you to believe something that you cannot personally prove to be a spiritual truth. And that's what we do. We teach the spiritual truths that are there and invite you to prove it to yourself. See if it works. Because a lot of us already know that it does. So it's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing stuff. So I want to leave you with some final words of advice from Fillmore, which is contained in what is our last gem. And it appears on page 24. Do not take anyone's word for it, but try this for yourself. The other fellow's realization of substance will not guarantee your supply. You must become conscious of it yourself. Identify yourself with substance until you make it yours. It will change your finances, destroy your fears, stop your worries, and you will soon begin to rejoice in the ever-present bounty of God. So let's say this affirmation together. I rejoice in the ever-present bounty of God.
I
Rejoice in the ever-present bounty of God. Okay, so let's see how we did with the treasure map. Tell me what they are, starting from the bottom with the first one. All right, number 1.
Spiritual substance is never depleted.
Number 2.
There is plenty of all
Air.
to breathe.
Number 3.
Refuse to give up.
Number 4.
No one ever fully sees the steps.
Number 5.
I have faith in the substance of God.
Number 6.
Put God first in finances.
Number 7.
God is an unfailing source of supply.
And number 8.
I
Rejoice in the ever-present bounty of God.
And so it is.